Greetings. We've almost made it through January. Thanks be to God. What is going on? Um, I just posted a piece, a little bit of a piece on Elizabeth Lesser. She may be a servant of God now. Uh, it's kind of late 1900s, or late rather 1800s Catholic woman. She was rich actually, but she's married this guy who was a virulent vocal atheist, and so she had to live, and she adored him, but he would constantly make fun of religion and people who had any kind of faith. um, she died of breast cancer and left these spiritual journals and letters, and he ended up Felix um, converting and becoming a priest. So anyway, that's kind of her story. But there's this biography. I wasn't totally crazy about it. Salt and Light, the spiritual journey of Elizabeth and Felix Lesser. I mean, it's a good overview. It was very painted her as someone who never ever had a bad thought or uncharitable. I never quite buy that, and but that's probably just because I myself I'm so full of faults. I cannot believe anyone else could be that perfect. But anyway, it's a nice overview. I wrote a piece about it. I wrote about her for Magnificat, so it's in my. I'll put the blog link. I don't know if you like. Do you all know I have like a website and a newsletter slash blog of like 13 years or something like that. So I do post on there fairly frequently, and I always put up my weekly Angelus News Arts and Culture column. So there you go. Another book I'm reading. I've just kind of started it. I really am liking it. It won the Pulitzer apparently. It's called The Upside Down World. That's my bookmark. The Upside Down World: Meetings with the Dutch Masters. This is a little bit. I talked about that other book, Thunderclap, which was about. I think I talked about it, which was about one particular Dutch master, um, Karel Fabrizi, Fabricius, I think his name is, who did the Goldfinch. Anyway, this guy lives in the Netherlands, and moved there when he was 20 and began just educating himself and studying these incredible Dutch painters of this golden age. So he's writing a book, and it's very, very accessible and talks about the lives of the. I'll maybe talk more about it, but anyway, that's kind of what I'm reading. Um, and then the life of a freelance writer. Supposedly, I got invited back to Kylemore Abbey in Connemara this summer. But there's this whole thing of like, oh, are people going to sign up? And if they don't, we lose money, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's, it's like, um, okay, well, we'll give it a try. We're proposing to do a week-long memoir writing workshop, which would be great. And then maybe a 3 or 4 day kind of discovering your inner creative type workshop as well. I love these workshops because what I like to do is introduce some of the many artists, many of them lesser known, not all of them, but some of them. Can be dancers or visual artists or writers that people may or may not have heard of. Some of them are outsider artists. Um, but yeah, everything's up in the air. I was supposed to do a retreat at New Camaldoli, that too, in Big Sur, that too was up in the air. So it's kind of interesting. But most of all, I've been listening to this wonderful series by Father Donald Haggerty, my new, um, not new, but just someone that I writes and speaks a lot about what is deepest and dearest to my heart, which is contemplative prayer. So he has this wonderful series on it's a podcast, I guess you'd call it, Discerning Hearts with Chris McGregor. You may have come across her. She's a well-known Catholic kind of. broadcast person, Kris McGregor. But she has a whole series, 21, I think, segments with Father Haggerty, all about his newest book, St. John of the Cross. And he just talks about this, among many other things, this kind of thing that happens where, say you've been praying the office for years, and maybe like done the Ignatian exercises, a lot of Lectio Divina, reflecting, pondering the Gospels, and then you come to this point where that is no, you just hit a wall where it doesn't feel right or full or something. And interestingly, I did the 9 month Ignatian exercises last year, and about 2/3 of the way through, I almost got like mad, I was just like, I can't, you have to wake up every hour, every morning, and do an hour of kind of lexia. I mean, it's silent, it's prayer, but you have a certain readings that you're supposed to be reflecting on and inserting yourself imaginatively into a particular gospel passage. And my director, who was lovely, but she'd be like, well, what did Jesus say to you? Like, and I would just be like, rah, like, what, to any two people who are deeply in love, they don't really talk, and I started to, it's like I can't pray the way I really want to, which is to be silent. It's not, I don't want to put myself imaginatively. I just don't want to, I don't want to spend my time that way, and then I wouldn't have enough time to do what really has always, ever since I was a child, I see now, been like my most, just my natural state in a way, which is to be in silence and solitude and not really thinking of much of anything, just kind of pulsating with the wonder, I guess, although of exist, or the fact of existence, or the depth of existence, or something like that. So he talks, apparently this is in part what contemplative prayer is, and but that there's this kind of objectively able to be observed progression from a certain kind of prayer to a deeper prayer has been a deep, kind of comfort to me. Uh, it's kind of like when I read the. I'm not promoting or even holding myself out as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm just saying I've read their book, which is called colloquially the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And when I first read that, I just absolutely, as I heard someone say the other day, wasn't written for me or through me or something like that, or to me. It was written about me, and I felt such a great, identification when I read about other alcoholics. When I read that book, it's like, oh yes, that's me, that's me. And I'm feeling the same way about hearing about St. John of the Cross, who I've always, I think, been reluctant to even talk about because it just seems so kind of rarefied, and he would be so outside my realm. But anyway, there you go. So I highly recommend this series. You can get it, it's on YouTube. I'm sure it's on Spotify. But meanwhile, this is what's really on my plate. And talk about not taking me out of contemplative prayer, silence, and solitude. So February 10th to the 16th, I'm going to Guatemala. For years, I've sponsored this kid down there. He's 13 now. But it's with this organization called Unbound. They're out of Kansas City, I think, in the States. And you can sponsor a kid or an elderly person, basically in a third world country. And you send $40. You can't even send more than $40 a month. Or I thought you could, and I've been contributing like $100. It turns out that's not going to the kid; it's going to them. Which is okay. But anyway, yeah, because they don't. you can, $40 in Guatemala or Honduras or wherever is like a huge amount of money. So it creates problems in the community apparently if you send more than that. Anyway, so and we write to each other and someone translates obviously because I have like 2 years of high school Spanish, and he's a delightful, delightful young man, Josue Gilberto. And so, and I went down with Unbound. Unbound, the organization, sponsors these trips so that you can either go down to or go to a third world country and learn more about what they do, and or visit your sponsee if you have one there. And I have been with them before. I went with them on an Unbound trip several years ago to Honduras. And it was what I remember. Because, like, I don't mind, I mean, hardship or being out of my routine doesn't bother me. What's really hard for me is being with people all day, which is what you have to do in these things. And when I went to Honduras, like supposedly, anyway, there was this one day where we were supposedly going to go to mass at 5, which of course is my fondest wish, not only to go to mass, but just because then you in mass you don't have to be talking to people. It just like there's something about my temperament or makeup where I just it's not, and it's not selfishness, it's just the way I'm made, and it really like begins to wear on me when I'm with people all day. So anyway, yeah, it was with when I went down to Honduras. There was this one day we were supposed to go to mass, and you have like breakfast is at 7. I mean, I get up very early. I don't mind getting up early, but like talking to people from 7 a.m. on. Anyway, so the whole day I was just like, oh, Lord, just get me through the day, get me through the day, and we can have mass. And then 5 o'clock approached, and we were still visiting with people, and I realized, oh my gosh, they're not. And I kind of had a meltdown, like a mini meltdown, and I went, I thought we were going to go to mass. And they were like, well, we're not going to be able to get to the church in time. But anyway, the point is the kid started to asked me a while ago in his letters, oh, sponsor, would you ever want to come down here, and would you ever want to share a meal with me and my family? And so, of course, my heart totally melted. And the long and the short of it is that so I'm going down, and it turns out Ash Wednesday is going to fall in that week. It's a Saturday. I fly out on a Saturday, I return on a Friday. The good news is I have global entry now, so supposedly I'll be able to go through, you know, the good TSA line and also the expedited passport line. That's nice. But yeah, Ash Wednesday falls in the middle. I don't know, they're going to take us to Mass on Sunday, but there's been no mention of whether, I don't even know whether I'm going to get to go to Mass on Ash Wednesday. That will be a bummer if not. However, I feel like, oh, I'm going to do my Lenten penance in the very first week. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm thrilled to go. And you get to meet the poor kid, the kids like get bussed in from all over the place. Like the money that it costs, you pay for this thing and then you pay for the flight, but the fee covers the bus, the transportation for the kid and probably his mother or whoever, someone else comes with him or her. And then we get to see Guatemala, which sounds kind of beautiful. We fly into Guatemala City and we go to these towns. One of them is Antigua, which is a beautiful, I guess, old colonial town. That's kind of our last day before leaving, and we have 3 hours of free time. Like, yes. I will, of course, make a beeline for some church and just sit there. But anyway, so yeah, but yeah, so at the same time, yeah, I'm a total, I like my silence and solitude, but I also, like we do, have my schedule, right? And so my other big thing is, oh my gosh, what about my daily 3 to 4 to 5 mile walk? What about my journaling? Or what about this, that, and the other thing? And the walk is a really big deal because I do also kind of, yeah, if I don't have my walk. So I'm already, like, I have this long, I actually kind of planned it. I have this long, you can't fly anywhere direct from Tucson. You have to go, usually, if you're going south, you're going to go through Dallas, Fort Worth, which I've come to love their airport. They have this Skylink thing. I mean, the place is huge. I think it has its own zip code, the airport. And if you have a short connection, or any kind of connect. They have this Skylink thing that actually runs very efficiently, but it's also huge, and you can walk if you want to from one terminal to another. 20-minute, 15-minute walks. So I've already planned it. Like, "Oh, I'm gonna get there, and I will have had my Starbucks, and I'm just gonna walk for an hour. I'll check my bag, which I don't like to do, but I'll check my bag and walk, and then I can do the same thing on the way home, and then da 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 da." And it's like, oh gosh, calm down. I'm not even going to bring my laptop with me, partly because I'm afraid it would get stolen, or I don't know, just something. But more to the point, I'm not going to have any time really to use it. So that'll be good. So I'm going to travel light. You bring presents for the kid, of course, and his mother. Um, but yeah, I think I'll just bring a notebook, and my you'll have some kind of cell coverage if you need to use your phone. But yeah, so it's gonna be like a real surrender of just turning over my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand Him in Guatemala. Um, so I'm basically pretty well set. I have to shop for some stuff, but I have travel insurance, and of course I have my ticket, and uh, there you go. So I don't leave. Yeah, I leave February 10th, but of course it's much on my mind, and I have to get some. I have a deadline every week, so I got to kind of write my column maybe in advance, etc. But that's partly what I am looking forward to for Lent. And there you go. I'm sure there's many other things I could babble on about, but yeah, we're preparing for Lent, and it's a big deal. And yeah, I think I just like struggle. I feel like I'm always, because of the way that I am, and I feel like I'm always like trying to go exercise contrary action and go out into the world and do a certain amount of socializing and do a certain amount of service and do a certain amount of some of it is I have to earn money, and some of it is I want to share. I'm super excited always about sharing, like, my kind of experience, strength, and hope as a writer, and the things I write about and all of that. um Certain amount of travel, but all that, it just like it just takes so much out of me, and not that I'm not grateful for all of it. So I don't know. Part of me wonders, like, maybe that's not God's will. Like, maybe I really am supposed to, like, it's hard to tell if you're indulging yourself or doing, stretching yourself, um, in the way that we're all called to stretch. Uh, and maybe we just never know, and that is the cross. We just bumble along doing the best we can. Um, it's probably why I like, yeah, like, I don't mind sitting in front of a camera and like sharing, because then, yeah, it doesn't. As an introvert, you're drained, however much you also love it and welcome it, like you're drained by being with people and recharge in solitude. Anyway, the mystery of existence, who can plumb it? Okay, hope you all have a good week. And yeah, let's be preparing our hearts, minds, wills, spirits, souls for the great adventure of Lent.